Hey guys, this is Jeff Conti, your YouTube knife mentor. I wanted to go over a topic that I've been noticing in some of the new knife makers. They have a propensity to not take as much weight out of the handle as they could. They'll put maybe two holes in the center and say, okay, I've skeletonized my tang. And yes, by all means, you've taken a little bit of weight out. But sometimes I think maybe the idea of skeletonizing is maybe not carried as far as it could go because perhaps you're not sure how to get there. So that's what I'm going to try to do today. I'm going to give you a little bit of do's and don'ts for skeletonizing your tang, how to lay it out, and then, of course, drilling it. So first off, there's a blank knife handle. And so we're going to work on this one today. And here are a couple of tangs that have already been skeletonized. And so this one I wanted to show you right off the bat. This demonstrates one of the errors that I think sometimes we make that I don't want you to make. And that's where these two holes get so close to each other that they actually violate each other's space. You notice here I have about 1/8 of an inch. And then from the outside of the hole to the outside of the knife, there's about 1/8 of an inch. And so I call that an 1/8-inch web. And that's what you're really looking for in terms of the minimum amount of distance between your holes or the holes and the outside of your knife. So whatever you do, don't violate those two ideas, the web between and then the web to the outside edge. I think that that's going to increase the weakness in your handle. With this one, you can see, pretty clearly, I didn't have much space between here and here, so the diameter of my holes had to be quite a bit smaller. These are 5/16, and I did violate my 1/8-inch web here, but I didn't violate it on the outside, and I didn't connect the two holes. So I'm going to count this as not my best work, but I don't think that I need to, quit building this knife, throw it in the trash or something like that. So out here, you notice I still have a pretty large hole, a 3/8 diameter hole, but I still have plenty of web on the outside, and that's true with all of these holes. And then with this one, really I've got pretty dang good connectivity with all of my holes. There's 1/8-inch webbing everywhere or more. These holes are as big as I ever want to use, which is 3/8 of an inch diameter. I did get a little bit close right here, but as long as I don't take off much material, I think it'll be all right. So with that being said, those are my three basic examples. So let's go ahead and lay one out. So first of all, you obviously cut your knife shape out to the size you want, and you should grind it to shape. You can use die-chem bluing or greening or redding, whatever color you buy, staining to put a nice even coat on. Unfortunately, when this gets warm, it becomes soft, and so your drill swarf will get stuck in this kind of soft stuff, and you can see that it's abraded when the drill goes around, and there's even still some of this swarf in the actual staining from when I was drilling it. So I don't particularly care for that. I do like the Sharpies. There are a lot of different sizes, and I'm certainly recommending that you use much larger Sharpies, but you only need to go about 5/16 of an inch in. You don't need to do the whole piece. And actually, with this kind of surface, you can do without the Sharpie, so I'll leave this right here so you can see the difference. And then I estimate that my the end of my handle is somewhere in this vicinity. So about 3/4 of an inch from here down to here, that's where my pinhole is going to go. So you can see I'm doing kind of a rush job, but hopefully you'll be able to get the idea. So I always use the same layout distance, 5/16. So here is my ruler. I bring this down to 5/16. I don't have my glasses on, but that looks just about right. And so all you have to do is place one point on the outside edge, and the other point is your scribe. So you can see it makes a pretty nice dark line even without the Sharpie. So we'll go ahead and do this one. And I encourage you to come around the back side, because inevitably there's a spot between where your pin is going to go and the very outside corner where there might be enough room for a good sized hole. Okay. Whoops. So this allows you to basically trace or parallel the outside edge. Now I'm going to set it to 3/4 of an inch, because I put my pin 3/4 of an inch from the end of the handle to the center of the pinhole. Kind of having a hard time seeing it, so all right, that looks pretty good. So then what I would do, and I've already done it here, is I would trace the center of my pinhole, and you can see that I've already drilled that hole. And then here, I would just use my finger as a guide where I think my handle is going to be. And so now I have this distance set. So you say, well, how do I get a center point here from these very uneven shapes? And I'll show you the easiest way is you put your divider down where you think center is, both here and here, and you don't care if it's real accurate, because what you're going to do is you're going to do 2 scribe lines. Whoops. One there and one there. And you can see that you've got a little bit of a V shape. And in the center of that V, where this line goes through, you can find the center between these 2 lines right there. You can find that with your punch. And by the way, we're making a knife, not a space shuttle, right? So, you know, if it's a couple thousandths off, it doesn't matter. And so when we look, we can see that I've got a pretty darn, oops, if it's focused any better. Come on now. Kind of hard to tell if it's focused very good, but you can see I'm really close to center on that. And that's as close as we need to be for a knife. Then we go from our center point with our dividers, and we say, okay, a 1/2 inch from center to center for a 3/8 inch hole, which is 5/16 and 5/16, which is 3/8 plus an 1/8. So 3/8 plus an 1/8 is what? 1/2 inch. So there we go, 1/2 inch. So I put it in my divot that I've created, and I create 2 marks. So now you can see I have my next 2 divots. So go ahead and tap those in place. And then I do 2 more. X marks the spot. Now for this one, I would also do the same thing. And since foolishly, I've already drilled that hole, I don't have a divot to put in. I'm going to estimate and put a scratch right there. And the same on this one. So now I've got my 2 X's. And I can put a divot here. I always work my outside or from the end of the knife handle inward towards the center. So now I have these 2. Do another 1/2 inch. And then on this one, a 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch. And then do it again. Now with these 2, you want a 1/2 inch in between. And if you look there, I'm about a 1/16 of an inch shy. So, but on this upper one, I think I have plenty. No, actually I have less. Let me see here. Yep. And yep, so I have even less space in between. So on these holes, instead of a 3/8 drill bit, I'll use a 5/16 drill bit, and that will give me still an 1/8 inch web in between these holes. So that's how I lay out a knife handle. That's how I make my divots. That's how I do my drilling. And that's how I get what I consider to be a strong skeletonized knife handle with as much weight reduction as I think is reasonable to get. So this is Jeff Conte, your YouTube knife mentor. I want you to go out and have fun making a knife.